Hi guys, what is up and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another book vlog, another breathe and read book club episode. If you guys have not, I did like a little update video in the last video because I was kind of gone for a while and I did not release the book vlog like I had said I would when I said I would. So if you want more of the explanation video, go check out the last one. But we're just gonna dive right in because I have some books that I'm ready to talk to you guys about. Okay, so I had a whole stack of books that I was going to share with you guys and that I was reading. All the books are currently somewhere in that pile. So I'm not going to pull all of them out, but I will put the image on the screen because I genuinely don't know where all of those books are. I just have the ones I'm currently reading beside me. So let's start with Time After Time. Any book that I finish, I'm going to give what I liked, what I didn't like, and then my rating out of 5 stars. I think it's always up to everyone else's opinion of if they like a book or not. But if it's one that I'm like, oh guys, I didn't like this, but maybe you guys will, I'll definitely do that too. So let me give the overview of the book. I know that some people don't like this, and I apologize, but whenever I hear other people review books and they read the summary, then I'm just like, oh, okay, I think I like that. So let me give the quick overview of Time After Time by Mickey Daughtry. It says, an unforgettable sapphic romance featuring 2 love stories, 100 years apart, from the screenwriter and co-author of the #1 New York Times best-selling novel and film, 5 Feet Apart. Libby has always been inexplicably drawn to the old Victorian house on Mulberry Lane, so much so that when she sees a for sale sign go up in the front yard, Libby uses all the money her grandmother left her to pay for college to buy the house instead, determined to fix it up herself, even though she knows her parents will be furious. Tish, a brash, broke fellow student, doesn't need much to get by. She can fix almost anything, so she makes do by building sets for the theater department and working odd jobs at the nearby salvage yard. Tish passes by the house one day and is mysteriously compelled to knock on the door. Libby offers her a room in exchange for her help with repairing the old house, and as they begin to work together, the 2 young women quickly find themselves growing closer. Soon after moving in, Libby discovers a journal written by a young woman, Elizabeth, who lived in the house a century earlier and was deeply in love with her personal maid, Patricia. As Elizabeth's journal entries delve deeper into their secret secret affair with Patricia, a love that was forbidden and dangerous in their time, Libby can't help but notice uncanny similarities between the young couple and Tish and herself. Have she and Tish lived this life before? And is this their chance to get it right? So I read this 3 different ways. I read the hardback, I read it on the Kindle, and then I also listened to it on the audiobook. There are some books that I listen to by audiobook because living in LA, you have quite the commute. So sometimes I don't have time to sit down and open the physical book. However, with this one, the audiobook, it's good, but there's so much detail where it's the type where you need to read the book. At least for me it was. I think it was interesting reading Time After Time because this was Mickey's like solo book. Instead of being like co-author with 5 Feet Apart and all this time After Time is her own. So I've been so used to the co-author work of between her and Rachel Lippincott, but I've been able to see what Rachel Lippincott's writing style is in her books, but this one is Mickey's. So what I found interesting, which I knew from All This Time, which I think I talked about back when it came out, she's very descriptive as a writer. So with Time After Time, there are certain scenes where she's descriptive for a reason. and those things that she's very descriptive about, it's for the plot of the story. Like, it's something that you have to pay attention to. And I appreciate that because, I mean, I can tell sometimes when something is like really hyper fixated on in someone's writing, it's like, oh, this might be important to remember. And then sometimes it ends up being true and sometimes it's not, but with this book it was. I love the amount of detail, but I would say the thing that I didn't like about the book was the amount of detail, because if I wasn't like, okay, let me like focus, lock in, then I would have no idea what was happening. And there were a few times I would have to go back and reread because I totally missed an important section. The chapters do go back and forth between characters. I know that there are some people who prefer that, some people who don't. I'm 50-50, it depends. And I feel like in this case, it was helpful for the story. And I liked hearing different perspectives. However, there were times I did get confused. So I would say that's the only con that I had. I'll do roses and thorns, okay? That was my only thorn to the book. Just the fact that like it was descriptive, but sometimes it's a touch a little bit too much descriptive for me, and just some of the POV was confusing. But then again, if I was locked in, I got it. But then if I wasn't, then I was confused. Maybe that's just me, but that was just the only thorn I had about the book. I loved the settings. I also loved how descriptive it was too. So it's kind of like, but I would say how the book left me feeling was like, it felt like a warm hug. And I remember back when I started it, I had said in my book video that there are hints of grief, but I don't think there's a lot. I spoke too soon. But to be completely honest, this book was the type of book that I needed to read. And it literally felt like that warm hug, that comforting hug when life has been throwing you challenges, and also when you've been grieving. I feel like I was really nervous to read a lot of books that regarded grief, and I had told my therapist that, and because it hit too close to home, and my therapist said to start to introduce a little bit of that back into my reading just to see how I feel. But funny enough, every single book I have has a little bit of grief in it, but that's taking the thorns and making it into beauty. So that makes something, you take the pain and make into art. And I feel like this book definitely gave me that comfort that I needed and gave me that warm hug that I needed. I honestly would rate it, even though there's cons with how descriptive it is, like the thorns or how descriptive it is, I love the story, and I love how it left me feeling, and I loved all the roller coaster of emotions that it gave me. So I would say that was the rose. So because of that, I would rate it like I would say 4.8. I'm not gonna say 5 out of 5, I'm gonna say 4.8 stars instead of 5 stars. But I mean, it's very close to 5. But I genuinely really love this book, and I'm gonna have to wait a while before I can reread it, because it's that type of book of like, you want to reread it, but then like, I wish I could have that moment where you can like reread the book for the first time, you know what I mean? Because now you know everything, so then you have to like wait some time so you can forget it and then come back. But it's really good, and I highly recommend it. But the next book that I wanted to talk about is Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and this book was given to me by my friend Jenny. This is my first intro book to Emily Henry's writing, and my friend thought I would enjoy it, and so I'll read the overview first. One summer, 2 rivals, a plot twist they didn't see coming. Nora Stevens' life is books. She's read them all, and she is not that type of heroine. Not the plucky one, not the laid-back dream girl, and especially not the sweetheart. In fact, the only people Nora is a heroine for are her clients, for whom she lands enormous deals as a cutthroat literary agent, and her beloved little sister, Libby, which is why she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina for the month of August, when Libby begs her for a sister's trip away, with visions of a small-town transformation for Nora, who she's convinced needs to become the heroine in her own story. But instead of picnics in meadows or run-ins with a handsome country doctor or bulging four-armed bartender, Nora keeps bumping into Charlie Lastra, a bookish brooding editor from back in the city. It would be a meet cute if not for the fact that they've met many times and it's never been cute. If Nora knows she's not an ideal heroine, Charlie knows he's nobody's hero. But as they're thrown together again and again in a series of coincidences, no editor worth their salt would allow what they discover might unravel the carefully crafted stories they've written about themselves. I love this book, to be completely honest. I'll just straight up say I rated it 5 stars. Not for how in-depth it goes. I would say the roses of this book are just the small town vibes. I'm from a small town in Colorado, and I love enemies to lovers. I love rivalry stories. I love cute little rom-coms, and that's exactly what this was. It felt like a Hallmark book. And it was like an easy read. This was actually like kind of like my first book. Like, I read this book before reading Time After Time and everything else, because it was just a good coming out of my reading slump, and it did touch on grief a little bit, but nothing crazy. So I feel like that was a good transition for me back into my reading flow again. And I mean, she writes. I found the way that the characters are very interesting, and so because of how the characters are, the writing style is very unique. I've started slowly reading a second Emily Henry book, so I can definitely see how she writes, but then also how she kind of adapts to the characters. So I loved this book, and it's everything I love. Rom-com, enemies to lovers, Hallmark, small town. Thorns, I would say it wasn't like. There are moments where I could have used a little bit more depth about some of the characters, but at the same time, like, it was good. It was like a good comfort read. It was a good, like, chill read. You didn't really have to think. And sometimes those just hit exactly perfectly. So for me, I genuinely rate it 5 stars. I loved it. I thought it was like a good, just chill read, which is exactly what I needed. But I would have to say, if you're looking for something with a little bit more depth or things like that, I feel like some of the character development could have had like a little bit more depth. But then again, I don't know. But it left me just feeling like, felt so happy and giddy afterwards, and I thought it just ended so well, and it left me feeling so good. So I listened to it on the audio. I listened to it on the audiobook, but I also read the physical copy. And it just hit in the right spot. So I mean, for me, I'm the perfect. I'm the type of audience who loves that type of book. So it's literally everything I love in a rom-com in a book. So 5 stars. Okay, next is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. This was my introduction to her writing. The only reason why I started getting her books is because I heard that there's Taylor Swift references in her books, which there are. So this one, it says, a romance novel inspired by the songs of Taylor Swift, now a New York Times bestseller. This book talk sensation is perfect for fans of Ginny Hahn's The Summer Turned Pretty and Sarah Dessen's Along for the Ride. Meredith's family annual game of assassin at Martha's Vineyard during a summer wedding is the perfect chance to honor her sister's legacy and finally join the world again. But when she forms an alliance with a cute groomsman, she's at risk of losing both the game and her heart. When Meredith Fox lost her sister, Claire, 18 months ago, she shut everyone out. But this summer, she's determined to join the world again. The annual family vacation to Martha's Vineyard seems like the perfect place to reconnect. Her entire extended family is gathering for a big summer wedding, and although Meredith is dateless after being unexpectedly dumped, she's excited to participate in the traditional Fox family game of Assassin that will take place during the week of wedding festivities. Claire always loved the game, and Meredith is determined to honor her legacy. But when Meredith forms an assassin alliance with a cute groomsman, she finds herself getting distracted. Meredith tries to focus on the game and win it for her sister, but she can't help falling for him. And as the week progresses, she realizes she's not only at risk of losing the game, but also her heart. So for this one, with the romance in this one, it is kind of closed door, which I appreciate because I don't really like reading a lot of that. I loved parts of it, but I wouldn't say it wasn't my full favorite. But I am excited to read more of her other books. I do like her as a writer, and I do like how she brings you into that world and totally like sets the scene. Like the whole setting reminded me of a camp I went to in Colorado called the Perry Mansfield Performing Arts Camp, and just the description of some of the cabins and such, and it reminded me of that. But I found the characters slightly annoying. I feel like there's just a lot of miscommunications that could have prevented a lot of things. And I'm not just talking with the main characters, I'm talking with a lot of the characters. And there's just some parts of the book that just really annoyed me. But maybe that's good. But for me, this book was stop and go for the longest time, just because I would keep getting pulled out of the book. My attention wasn't really there sometimes, depending on like how the characters were. But the only reason I kind of finished it was because I had just finished Time After Time, and I was on an airplane, and that's the only other book I had downloaded on my Kindle. So I was like, okay, I guess we'll finish this book now. And it was good. I would say there's parts of it I liked, and there's parts of it I didn't. I feel like I can't really describe all of that because it would kind of give away the plot of the story. I still think it's a good book, and I still think it's a good read. But for me, I just personally didn't. It didn't tailor towards me. But again, I'm still excited to read her other books. I do have other ones on my Kindle of hers. But I would rate this probably a 3.7. It wasn't terrible, but for me it wasn't great. But like, I would pick it up again, but it was okay for me. The next book is If We Never End by Laura Taylor Namey. This one I read, but then also I listened to the audiobook. So I have the physical copy of it, and I listened to an audiobook. For those who don't know, I've been reading a lot of Laura Taylor Namey's books for a while. I did a review of A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow. I've read Hurricanes and Heartbreak, or is it Heartbreak and Hurricanes? And then With Love, Echo Park. I still have yet to read her two other books, but I do own them. But If We Never End is her newest book, and it's the first time there's like magic featured, which is totally not like any of her past books. So let me read the overview. Sylvie Castellano is used to goodbyes. Every summer, her friends leave to vacation at faraway beaches, and her parents jet off to work on the luxury yacht, dumping her with her tia Vivian. Sylvie may love her Aunt Viv, but just once, she wishes the summer held a big adventure for her too. When Sylvie scores the thrift of a lifetime, a vintage gold watch worth thousands, she thinks maybe luck is turning around. Then a turn of the watch's dial summons a ghost boy, with no idea who he is or why he's attached to the watch. and only his name to go off of, Pen Sylvie offers to help him unravel the mystery of his death. Sylvie's summer is suddenly full of road trips, beach bonfires, and Ferris wheel rides as she and Pen try to piece together the life he lost. But soon, Sylvie begins to imagine a future together, a future they can never have. Then a devastating discovery brings everything crashing down. The watch's secrets extend far beyond Pen, and that's not only Sylvie's heart at risk, but her life. So this book, I loved how different it is from her previous books, but also similar to her previous books. I'm definitely going to rate it a 5 out of 5. It was the type where I couldn't put it down. I think I read it in 2 days. That was the fastest I had read all of the books that I had. I could not stop. And I loved the characters. I loved the story. I loved the setting. I can't think of any thorns, to be completely honest. It was a 5 out of 5, 5-star read. But if you want to hear more of my thoughts and more of everything regarding the book later this month, towards the end of August, I'll let you guys know for sure on here. But also follow me on ashleys.roses. Follow the book, my book Instagram account, ashleys.roses.books. But also follow the Blooming Roses podcast on Instagram and TikTok. And subscribe to Rosary Media YouTube channel, because that is where the video versions of the Blooming Roses podcast is. I've brought season 6 back, but with that, there's a couple episodes I'm catching up on of releasing and such. But I did have the opportunity to interview Laura Taylor and Amy once again, because I interviewed her, I think it was right around A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow, around that time. But I was able to interview her, catch up with her, and talk to her about her book, If We Never End. And we went a little bit further into the book, and I also gave more of my review in that episode as well. So I'm not gonna share everything because I do want you guys to go listen to that. But again, follow all those accounts, subscribe to Rosary Media YouTube channel, because that is where also the video versions of Blooming Roses podcast is going to be at. But also there's more content coming that's film related, behind the scenes related to all of my independent films. So, but I loved the book. 5 stars. 5 stars. So good. Those are my book reviews. Those are my breathe and read selections, and what I'll be reading next time. So again, follow Rosary Media, subscribe to the YouTube channel Rosary Media to be able to watch the video version of Blooming Roses podcast episodes, especially the one featuring Laura Taylor and Amy. Follow the Blooming Roses podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Follow ashleys.roses for more content from me, and that's where I'm more active, on Instagram and TikTok. And if you want solely book stuff, ashleys.roses.books. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye!